If love were a bank account, mine just got overdrawn. That's what I was thinking at 2:17 a.m. when my phone buzzed with a text that would reshape my entire existence. My name is Nathan Pierce, but everyone calls me Nate. I'm 37, work in IT security for a mid-sized Boston firm, and until that Tuesday morning, I thought I had a pretty good handle on my life. I was lying in bed next to Mia, my wife of 4 years, listening to her gentle breathing and thinking about our upcoming vacation to Japan. We'd been saving for 18 months. Every spare dollar went into that fund. $23,000 of pure anticipation, sitting in our joint savings account like a promise of better days ahead. The phone's glow cut through the darkness of our cramped Boston apartment. I figured it was a work emergency. Happens more than I'd like in cybersecurity. But the message wasn't from my boss. It was from Mia's phone, sent to someone named Chase. "Baby, I can get the bail money by morning. Just transferred everything from the vacation fund. Family comes first, right? See you soon. Could OXO." I read it 3 times before my brain processed what I was seeing. Then I read it again, hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something that made sense. They didn't. My wife of 4 years had just drained our entire vacation savings to bail out her ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend I wasn't supposed to know about. The ex-boyfriend she'd been texting with heart emojis and promises of financial rescue. I sat up slowly, careful not to wake her. Mia looked peaceful in the dim light filtering through our bedroom curtains, her auburn hair spread across the pillow like she was posing for a magazine. She'd always been beautiful. That's what caught my attention when we met at a coffee shop in Cambridge. She was working on her laptop, managing social media accounts for local businesses, and I was immediately drawn to her laugh and the way she gestured when she talked. Now, looking at her sleeping face, I wondered how long she'd been lying to me. I grabbed my laptop from the nightstand and quietly padded to the kitchen. Our apartment was small but comfortable. 1 bedroom, decent kitchen, living room that doubled as my home office. We'd talked about upgrading once we both got promotions, maybe finding a place with a proper office space. Those conversations felt like ancient history now. I logged into our joint account, my fingers trembling slightly as I navigated to the recent transactions. There it was, a transfer of $23,000 to an account I'd never seen before, processed at 1:43 a.m., 34 minutes ago. The vacation fund showed a balance of $0.00. I stared at the screen for a long time, my mind cycling through emotions like a broken slot machine. Anger, disbelief, hurt, and underneath it all, a cold, calculating fury that surprised me. I'm not typically a vengeful person. I solve problems with logic and careful planning. But this wasn't a technical problem. This was betrayal on a scale I'd never experienced. I opened a new browser window and started researching flights to Tokyo. If Mia could make impulsive financial decisions at 2 in the morning, so could I. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The next available flight was at 6 p.m. that evening. Business class, one way, using my personal credit card. $12,000, money I'd been saving for a new car. I hesitated for maybe 30 seconds before clicking Purchase. Then I opened another browser tab and logged into my personal savings account. The account Mia didn't have access to, where I kept my emergency fund and some inheritance money from my grandmother. $47,000, my safety net, my independence fund, my just-in-case-the-world-goes-crazy money. I transferred half of our remaining joint checking account balance to my personal account. Technically, it was my money anyway. My salary had been funding our life while Mia's social media income barely covered her shopping habits. By 3 a.m., I had a flight booked, hotel reservations in Tokyo, and a plan that felt both completely insane and perfectly logical. I was going to Japan, just like we'd planned. The only difference was that I'd be going alone, and Mia would wake up to discover that her midnight financial rescue mission had left her with exactly enough money to cover her ex-boyfriend's bail and nothing else. I spent the next hour documenting everything. Screenshots of her text messages, bank transfer records, photos of our vacation planning documents. I work in cybersecurity. I know the value of evidence. Whatever came next, I wanted to be prepared. At 4 a.m., I finally went back to bed. Mia hadn't moved. She was still sleeping peacefully, probably dreaming about her romantic reunion with Chase. I lay there in the darkness, listening to her breathe, and tried to figure out how I'd missed the signs. Had there been signs? Looking back, maybe there were. The way she'd been protective of her phone lately. The mysterious girls' nights that seemed to happen more frequently. The way she'd grown distant during our vacation planning, like she was going through the motions. Or maybe I was just telling myself stories, trying to make sense of something senseless. My alarm went off at 6 a.m., same as always. I got up, showered, and made coffee while Mia continued sleeping. She'd always been a heavy sleeper, claimed it was because she stayed up late managing social media accounts for clients on the West Coast. Now I wondered what else she'd been managing. I left for work without waking her, carrying my laptop bag and acting like it was any other Tuesday, but I'd also packed a small overnight bag and hidden it in my car. My flight wasn't until evening, but I wanted to be ready. The day crawled by with excruciating slowness. I sat in my cubicle, monitoring network security alerts and responding to user complaints, while my phone stayed silent. Mia usually texted me a few times during the day, random thoughts, funny memes, complaints about difficult clients. Today, nothing. Around noon, my phone finally buzzed, a text from Mia. "Having lunch with Amber. See you tonight. Love you." Amber was Mia's younger sister, 29 years old, and just as manipulative as Mia, but without the charm to hide it. They were close in the way that conspirators are close, always whispering together at family gatherings, always backing each other up when one of them got in trouble. I wondered if Amber knew about Chase. I wondered if she'd helped plan this whole thing. At 2 p.m., I told my supervisor I had a family emergency and needed to leave early. It wasn't entirely a lie. My family was definitely experiencing an emergency, even if only one of us knew it yet. I drove home, grabbed my overnight bag, and left a note on the kitchen counter. Had to travel for work. Emergency client situation. We'll call you later. N. Then I drove to Logan Airport, checked in for my flight, and sat in the departure lounge waiting for my new life to begin. My phone rang at 4:30 p.m. Mia's name appeared on the screen, along with a photo I'd taken of her laughing at a restaurant last month. She looked happy in that picture. Carefree. I wondered if she'd been thinking about Chase when I took it. I let it go to voicemail. She called again 5 minutes later. Then again. By the time they started boarding my flight, she'd called 11 times and sent a flurry of increasingly frantic text messages. "Nate, where are you? The bank called. There's a problem with our account. Call me now. This isn't funny. Where did you go? I can explain everything." I turned off my phone and handed my boarding pass to the gate agent. The flight attendant welcomed me aboard with a professional smile, and I settled into my business class seat with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. As the plane taxied toward the runway, I allowed myself one last look at my phone before switching it to airplane mode. 17 missed calls from Mia and one new voicemail. I played the message through my headphones as we lifted off from Boston. "Nate, please, you have to call me back. I know how this looks, but it's not what you think. Chase needed help, and I couldn't just let him. Look, family is complicated, okay? But you and me, we're solid. We're good. Just come home and we'll talk about this like adults. I love you. Please don't do anything crazy." The irony wasn't lost on me. She was asking me not to do anything crazy while sitting in the wreckage of the craziest thing either of us had ever done. I closed my eyes as Boston disappeared below us, and for the first time in hours, I smiled. Tokyo hit me like a sensory overload wrapped in neon and politeness. I'd never traveled internationally alone, and certainly never as a form of revenge. The 14-hour flight gave me plenty of time to think, and by the time I landed at Narita, I had a plan that went far beyond a solo vacation. I checked into a capsule hotel in Shibuya, the kind of place Mia would have hated. She preferred luxury accommodations with room service and marble bathrooms. The capsule was barely larger than a coffin, but it was clean, efficient, and exactly the kind of adventure she'd dismissed when we were planning our trip. "Too cramped," she'd said. "We're not college backpackers, Nate. We can afford better." Now I was discovering that better was subjective. The capsule hotel had a communal bath, vending machines that sold everything from hot coffee to clean underwear, and other travelers who nodded respectfully and minded their own business. It was perfect for someone who needed to disappear for a while. I turned my phone back on after getting settled, and the messages flooded in. 43 missed calls from Mia, 12 from her sister Amber, and a collection of voicemails that ranged from pleading to angry to threatening. The most recent message was from Amber. "Nate, I don't know what game you think you're playing, but Mia is a wreck. You need to come home and fix this mess you created. Family takes care of family, and that includes you. Don't make me come find you." I laughed out loud in the hotel lobby. Amber was going to come find me. In Tokyo? With what money? Mia had just blown their emergency fund on her ex-boyfriend's bail, but I knew Amber well enough to take her threats seriously. She was the kind of person who would absolutely book an international flight on a credit card just to prove a point. I needed to stay ahead of whatever they were planning. I spent my first day in Tokyo doing tourist things and documenting everything, photos of me at the Sensoji Temple, eating ramen in a tiny restaurant in Golden Guy, riding the trains during rush hour. I posted them to my social media accounts with captions like, "Sometimes you have to take the trip you need, not the trip you planned," and "Tokyo is amazing when you're not worried about impressing anyone." The responses started immediately, friends and coworkers commenting with surprise and confusion. "Where's Mia?" asked my colleague Jennifer. "Thought you two were going together?" I replied with carefully crafted responses. Change of plans. Sometimes solo travel is exactly what you need. By the second day, Mia's friends were sliding into my DMs with questions. Her college roommate Tara sent me a message. "Mia says you just disappeared. She's really worried. What's going on?" I decided it was time to control the narrative. I screenshot Mia's text about the vacation fund and sent it to Tara, along with a simple message. "Ask her about Chase." Then I sent the same screenshot to Jennifer, to my brother Mike, and to 3 other mutual friends. I didn't add commentary or accusations. I just let Mia's own words speak for themselves. The response was immediate and explosive. Tara called me within an hour. I was sitting in a cafe in Harajuku watching teenagers dressed like anime characters when my phone rang. "Nate, what the hell is this about? Mia said you stole money from your joint account and ran off to Japan." "I took half of what was left after she drained our vacation fund," I said calmly. "Check the timestamps on that message, Tara. She sent that at 2 a.m. to someone named Chase, not to me. I found it by accident." There was a long pause. "Chase? Like Chase Morrison? Her ex from college?" "The same Chase Morrison who apparently needed $23,000 for bail money." "Oh, Nate. Oh no, she didn't." "She did. And now she's spinning it like I'm the bad guy for not sticking around to discuss it over coffee and pastries." Tara was quiet for a moment. Then, "She's been weird lately. Secretive. I thought maybe she was planning a surprise for you or something." "Surprise? Your wife is still in love with her ex-boyfriend and will bankrupt you to prove it. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to finish the vacation we planned, solo, and then I'm going to figure out what comes next." After I hung up, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. The truth was spreading, and I hadn't had to lie or exaggerate. Mia's actions spoke for themselves. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Chase. We need to talk." I stared at the message for a long time. The man who'd been the recipient of my wife's midnight rescue mission was reaching out to me directly. The audacity was almost impressive. I typed back, "Nothing to discuss. Enjoy the bail money." His response came quickly. "You don't understand the situation. Mia was trying to help family." "Mia's family doesn't include you anymore. That's what divorce papers are for. Don't be a child about this." I screenshot our conversation and added it to my growing collection of evidence. Then I blocked his number and went back to exploring Tokyo. But Chase's message had rattled me more than I wanted to admit. The casual entitlement in his tone, the assumption that I should just accept being robbed to fund his legal problems, it made my anger crystallize into something harder and more focused. I spent the evening in an internet cafe, researching Chase Morrison. Social media made it easy. He was a fitness influencer with a modest following, the kind of guy who posted shirtless workout videos and motivational quotes about grinding and hustle. His recent posts were conspicuously absent, but his older content painted a picture of someone who lived beyond his means and had a history of asking others to fund his lifestyle. I found court records showing his recent arrest for assault and property damage. Apparently, he'd gotten into a fight at a bar and trashed the place when they tried to throw him out. The bail amount matched exactly what Mia had transferred from our account. I also found evidence of their ongoing relationship. Comments on each other's posts going back months, likes and hearts on photos, the kind of digital footprints that people leave when they think no one is paying attention. They'd been reconnecting for at least 6 months, maybe longer. I was deep in my research when my phone rang. Amber's name appeared on the screen, along with a photo from last Christmas where she was wearing a Santa hat and glaring at the camera. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. "Nate, thank God. Where are you?" "Tokyo. Having a wonderful time. How's Chase enjoying his freedom?" "Don't be an ass. Mia made a mistake, but you're making it worse by running away like a teenager." "I'm not running away. I'm taking the vacation we saved for. The vacation your sister decided to spend on her boyfriend's legal troubles." "Oh, he's not her boyfriend. It's complicated." "It's really not. She chose him over me, over us, over our future together. That's about as uncomplicated as it gets." Amber's voice got sharp. "You're being dramatic. People make mistakes. Adults work through them." "Adults also don't drain joint bank accounts at 2 a.m. to bail out their exes without discussing it with their spouses." "She was going to tell you." "When? After the money was gone? After Chase was free? after they rode off into the sunset together? You're being paranoid. I laughed. Am I? Because I've got months of evidence that suggests otherwise. Social media comments, text messages, a pattern of behavior that makes it pretty clear this wasn't a one-time thing. There was a long pause. Then Amber said, "Where in Tokyo are you staying?" The question sent a chill down my spine. Why? Because someone needs to talk sense into you, and apparently it's going to have to be me. I hung up and immediately started planning my next move. If Amber was serious about coming to Tokyo, and knowing her, she probably was, I needed to be somewhere else when she arrived. I booked a flight to Okinawa for the next morning, paid for it with my personal credit card, and left a deliberately obvious trail of hotel reservations and restaurant bookings in Tokyo for the next week. If Amber wanted to chase me around Japan, she could start by searching the wrong city. Before I left Tokyo, I sent one more message to the group chat I shared with Mia's college friends. It was a photo of me eating sushi at the Tsukiji fish market with the caption, "Amazing what you can afford when you're not funding other people's legal problems." Tara responded immediately. Savage, Nate, but fair. Someone else added, "Wait, what legal problems?" And just like that, the conversation exploded. By the time I boarded my flight to Okinawa, Mia's entire social circle was dissecting our marriage in real time, and the consensus was not in her favor. I settled into my seat on the plane and allowed myself a moment of satisfaction. I was 3 steps ahead of whatever Mia and Amber were planning. I had the moral high ground, and I was about to spend a few days on a tropical island while they scrambled to contain the damage back home. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like I was winning. Okinawa was paradise, which made it the perfect place to plan someone's social destruction. I spent 3 days on the beach, swimming in crystal clear water and monitoring the chaos unfolding back home through social media. Mia's world was crumbling in real time, and I had front row seats to the collapse. The first major development came on day 2. Tara posted a lengthy Facebook status about toxic people who manipulate situations to make themselves look like victims. She didn't name names, but the timing and context made it clear she was talking about Mia. The post got 67 likes and 23 comments, most of them from mutual friends who were clearly picking sides. Jennifer from work sent me a private message. "Mia called the office looking for you. She seemed unhinged. I told her you were on approved vacation time, but she kept insisting there was a family emergency. Thought you should know." I screenshot the message and added it to my growing file of evidence. Mia was escalating, which meant I needed to be ready for whatever came next. My phone rang while I was having lunch at a beachside restaurant. Amber's name appeared on the screen, and this time I decided to have some fun with it. "Hello, Amber. How's Tokyo treating you?" There was a pause. "How did you know I was in Tokyo?" "Lucky guess? Find any good capsule hotels?" "You little—" She caught herself. "We need to talk, Nate. Face to face." "We're talking now. This is face to face, just with a few hundred miles in between." "Where are you?" "Somewhere beautiful. Somewhere Mia would have loved if she hadn't decided to fund her ex-boyfriend's legal defense instead." "Stop calling him her boyfriend. It's not like that." "What's it like then? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like she chose him over me. $23,000 worth of choosing." Amber's voice got dangerous. "You're going to regret this, Nate. Both of you are going to regret how you're handling this situation." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise. Family protects family, and you're not family anymore." She hung up, and I sat back in my beach chair with a satisfied smile. Amber was frustrated and off balance, which meant my misdirection was working. Let her search Tokyo while I enjoyed the Okinawan sunshine. But her threat lingered in my mind. Amber wasn't just protective of Mia, she was vindictive. If she couldn't find me in person, she'd find other ways to strike back. I didn't have to wait long to find out what she had in mind. That evening, I got a notification that someone had tagged me in a Facebook post. It was Amber, and the post was a masterpiece of manipulation disguised as concern. "Worried about my brother-in-law, Nate Pierce. He's been acting erratically since a minor financial disagreement with my sister. He's currently somewhere in Asia, spending money recklessly and refusing to communicate with his family. If anyone has contact with him, please encourage him to seek help. Mental health is nothing to be ashamed of, but abandoning your responsibilities and running away isn't the answer. Mental health awareness family first." The post had been shared 4 times and liked by people I didn't recognize, probably Amber's friends from her yoga studio and organic juice bar, but it was also being seen by mutual friends, and some of them were commenting with concern. "Oh no, is Nate okay?" wrote someone from Mia's book club. "I saw his posts from Japan. Seemed like he was having fun, but maybe that was just for show," added another. I stared at the post for a long time, feeling my carefully controlled anger shift into something more focused. Amber was trying to reframe the narrative, painting me as unstable and Mia as the concerned wife dealing with a husband's breakdown. It was time to stop playing defense. I crafted my response carefully, writing and rewriting until I had something that was devastating but factual. Thanks for your concern, Amber, but I'm doing great. Just enjoying the vacation my wife and I saved for, even though she decided to spend our travel fund bailing her ex-boyfriend out of jail instead of discussing it with me first. I know family is important to you, but I'm still figuring out why Chase Morrison counts as family. Maybe you can explain that at your next yoga class? Transparency matters, receipts available. I posted it as a comment on her status, then screenshot the entire exchange and shared it to my own timeline with the caption, "When people try to gaslight you, but you have screenshots." The response was immediate and nuclear. Within an hour, Amber had deleted her original post, but not before dozens of people had seen my comment and started asking questions. My post got shared 8 times and attracted comments from people I hadn't heard from in years. "Wait, Mia drained your vacation fund for her ex? That's insane," wrote my college roommate Dave. "I always thought she was sketchy," added my cousin Lisa. "Remember at your wedding when she kept checking her phone during the ceremony?" The conversation snowballed from there, with people sharing their own observations about Mia's behavior over the years. Things I'd dismissed or rationalized were suddenly being examined in a new light. My phone started ringing. Mia's name appeared on the screen, and for the first time since this started, I answered. "You bastard," she said without preamble. "How dare you air our private business on social media?" "I didn't air anything," I replied calmly. "I just responded to your sister's public post about my mental health with some context she forgot to include. That's not what happened, and you know it." "Really?" "Because I have the bank records that say otherwise. I have your text messages to chase. I have months of evidence that you've been lying to me." I was trying to help someone I care about. Someone you care about more than your husband, apparently. There was a long pause. Then, in a smaller voice, "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple, Mia. You had a choice between your marriage and your ex-boyfriend, and you chose him. The only complicated part is figuring out why you thought I'd stick around to pay for it." "Come home. We can work this out." "Why would I come home? So you can explain how stealing from our joint account was actually an act of love? So you can tell me how I'm supposed to feel grateful that you only bankrupted our vacation fund instead of our entire savings?" "I didn't steal anything. It was our money." "It was our money that you spent on your ex-boyfriend without asking me. That's theft, Mia. That's betrayal. That's the end of our marriage." She started crying then, and for a moment I felt a flicker of the old sympathy. But then I remembered the timestamp on her text to Chase, the casual way she'd signed it with XOXO, the months of lies that had led to this moment. "Come home," she said again. "Please." "I am home," I replied. "This is where I belong now, somewhere you can't reach into my wallet while I'm sleeping." I hung up and turned off my phone. Then I walked down to the beach and sat in the sand, watching the waves crash against the shore. Tomorrow I would fly back to Boston, but not to reconcile. I was going back to finish what Mia had started. The next morning, I caught an early flight from Okinawa to Tokyo, then a connecting flight to Boston. The journey gave me plenty of time to plan my next moves, and by the time I landed at Logan Airport, I had a strategy that would make my beach confrontations look like gentle disagreements. I didn't go home. Instead, I checked into a hotel near downtown and spent the evening researching. I'd been gone for a week, which meant Mia and Chase had had plenty of time to get comfortable, to think they'd weathered the worst of the storm. They were wrong. I started with Chase's social media accounts. He'd been posting again, mostly gym selfies and motivational quotes about overcoming obstacles and staying strong in the face of adversity. The comments were full of support from people who clearly didn't know the full story. "You're an inspiration, bro." "Keep grinding. Haters gonna hate." "Real recognize real." I created a fake account and started commenting with questions. "What obstacles are you overcoming?" "Asking for a friend." "Is it true you needed someone else's wife to pay your bail?" "How's that married woman treating you?" The comments got deleted within minutes, but not before other people saw them and started asking their own questions. By midnight, Chase had disabled comments on all his recent posts. But I was just getting started. I'd spent my career in cybersecurity, which meant I knew how to find information that people thought they'd hidden. It took me most of the night, but by morning I had a complete picture of Chase and Mia's relationship timeline, text messages recovered from cloud backups, social media interactions going back 8 months, photos they'd taken together and thought they'd deleted, financial records showing other times Mia had loaned him money, smaller amounts that I'd never noticed missing from our accounts. The evidence painted a picture of a relationship that had been going on for most of our marriage. Not just a recent reconnection, but an ongoing affair that had been carefully hidden until Chase's legal troubles made it impossible to keep secret. I compiled everything into a neat digital package and prepared for the nuclear option. It was time to come home. I drove past our apartment 3 times before parking across the street. It was Tuesday afternoon, and Mia's car was in its usual spot. Chase's Jeep, a ridiculous lifted thing with oversized tires, was parked right next to it. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. I sat in my rental car for 20 minutes, watching our apartment windows and thinking about the life I'd built with Mia. 4 years of marriage, 2 years of dating before that, 6 years of thinking I knew someone, only to discover I'd been living with a stranger. The apartment looked the same from the outside, same red brick building, same narrow windows, same fire escape that Mia had always wanted to turn into a garden but never got around to. Everything looked normal, which somehow made it worse. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer at work. "Heard you were back in town. Everything okay?" I typed back, "Getting better by the minute." Then I got out of the car and walked up to our front door. I still had my keys, though I wondered if Mia had changed the locks while I was gone. She hadn't. The key turned smoothly, and I stepped into what used to be my home. I could hear voices from the living room, Mia's laugh, followed by a deeper voice I didn't recognize but assumed was Chase. They sounded relaxed, comfortable, happy. I set my bag down quietly and walked toward the sound. They were on the couch, Mia curled up against Chase's side while he scrolled through something on his phone. He was bigger than I'd expected from his social media photos, not just fit, but genuinely imposing. The kind of guy who took up space without thinking about it. Mia saw me first. Her face went through a rapid series of expressions: surprise, guilt, fear, and finally a kind of defiant resignation. "Nate," she said, sitting up straighter. "You're back." Chase turned to look at me, and I got my first good look at the man my wife had chosen over me. Square jaw, expensive haircut, the kind of confidence that comes from never having to question whether you deserve the things you want. "So you're the husband," he said, not bothering to get up from the couch. "Mia's told me a lot about you." "I'll bet she has," I replied, "though I'm guessing she left out some important details." "Like what?" "Like the fact that she's married. Like the fact that the money she used to bail you out was stolen from our joint savings account." Chase shrugged. "She said you were separated." I looked at Mia. Did I miss the separation conversation? Because I remember going to bed married and waking up robbed, but I don't recall any discussion about ending our relationship. "Don't be dramatic," Mia said. "We need to talk about this like adults." Adults don't drain bank accounts in the middle of the night to fund their affairs. "It wasn't an affair," she said quickly. "Chase needed help, and I was in a position to provide it." "What position was that? On your back?" Chase stood up then, and I realized he had about 4 inches and 40 pounds on me. "Watch your mouth." "Or what? You'll assault me too? Add me to your legal troubles?" His hands clenched into fists, but Mia put a hand on his arm. "Don't. He's trying to provoke you." "I'm trying to understand," I said. "Help me out here. What's the plan? You two live in my apartment, spending my money while I what? Pay rent somewhere else and pretend this is normal?" "It doesn't have to be like this," Mia said. "We can figure something out that works for everyone." I laughed. "Something that works for everyone? Like what? A schedule? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays you're married to me, weekends you're with Chase?" "You're being ridiculous." "I'm being accurate. You want to have it both ways. Keep the financial security of being married to me while having your emotional and physical needs met by him." Chase stepped forward. "She doesn't need your permission to be happy." "She needs my permission to spend my money making you happy." "That money was as much hers as yours." "Really?" "Because I'm pretty sure my salary was paying for this apartment, her car, her credit cards, and her lifestyle while her social media consulting barely covered her Starbucks habit." Mia's face flushed red. "That's not fair." "What's not fair is discovering that my wife has been planning her exit strategy for months while letting me believe we were building a future together." I pulled out my phone and opened the folder where I'd compiled all my evidence. "What's not fair is finding 8 months of text messages between you two. What's not fair is discovering that this isn't the first time you've loaned him money. What's not fair is realizing that our entire marriage has been a lie." I turned the phone toward them, showing screenshots of their conversations, messages about missing each other, about wishing they could be together, about how I was boring and didn't understand Mia the way Chase did. Mia's face went white. "Where did you get those?" "Cloud backup. You really should be more careful about your digital security." Chase grabbed for the phone, but I pulled it back. Easy there, tough guy. These are already backed up in multiple locations. Breaking my phone won't make them disappear. What do you want? Mia asked quietly. I want you to admit what this is. I want you to stop pretending this was some noble gesture to help a friend in need. I want you to acknowledge that you chose him over me, and that choice has consequences. What kind of consequences? I looked around our apartment, at the furniture we'd bought together, the photos on the walls, the life we'd built that had turned out to be as fragile as paper. The kind where you don't get to keep everything while giving me nothing. Chase stepped closer to me. Are you threatening her? I'm explaining reality to her. She made a choice. Now she gets to live with it. And if she doesn't want to live with it? I met his eyes. Then she should have thought about that before she stole from me to bail you out of jail. The room went quiet. Outside, I could hear traffic and the sound of someone's television through the thin walls. Normal sounds from a normal day, while inside our apartment everything was falling apart. I think you should leave, Mia said finally. I think you're right, I replied. But first, let me explain how this is going to work. I pulled out a manila envelope I'd prepared at the hotel. Divorce papers, already filed. You'll be served officially in a few days, but I wanted to give you a heads up. Mia took the envelope with shaking hands. Nate, please, we can work this out. We could have worked it out if you'd talked to me before you emptied our savings account. We could have worked it out if you'd been honest about your relationship with Chase. We could have worked it out if you'd treated our marriage like it mattered to you. It did matter to me. Not enough. I headed toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and Chase? You might want to find a new place to stay. The lease on this apartment is in my name, and I'll be terminating it at the end of the month. You can't do that, Mia said. I live here too. You lived here as my wife, but since you've decided you'd rather be Chase's girlfriend, you can figure out your housing situation with him. I left them standing in the living room and walked back to my car. As I drove away, I could see them in the window, probably planning their next move, but I was already 3 steps ahead of whatever they were thinking. That evening, I met my brother Mike at a bar in Cambridge. He'd been following the drama on social media and wanted to hear the full story. So, what's next? He asked after I'd filled him in on the details. Next, I make sure everyone knows exactly who they're dealing with. Meaning? I pulled out my phone and showed him the social media campaign I'd been preparing. Meaning I stop being the nice guy who gets taken advantage of, and I start being the guy who fights back. Mike whistled low. That's comprehensive. I work in cybersecurity, Mike. I know how to research people, and I know how to make information public. Are you sure you want to go nuclear like this? I thought about Chase sitting on my couch, acting like he belonged there. I thought about Mia's casual dismissal of our marriage, her assumption that I'd just accept being robbed and betrayed. They started this war when they decided to steal from me. I'm just going to finish it. The next morning, I launched my campaign at exactly 9 a.m., prime social media time when people were settling into their workdays and scrolling through their feeds. I'd spent the previous evening crafting the perfect post, something that would be devastating but unassailable. A life update. After discovering that my wife drained our $23,000 vacation fund at 2 a.m. to bail her ex-boyfriend out of jail, without mentioning it to me, I've decided to take that vacation solo and file for divorce. Some people think marriage is a partnership. Others think it's a personal ATM with benefits. Guess which kind I married. Lessons learned moving on. I attached screenshots of the bank transfer, Mia's text to Chase, and a few choice excerpts from their months-long conversation thread. Nothing explicit, nothing that could be considered harassment, just the facts presented clearly and without editorial comment. The post exploded. Within 2 hours, it had been shared 47 times and attracted over 200 comments. Friends, co-workers, distant relatives, and people I'd forgotten I was connected to all weighed in with support, outrage, and their own stories of relationship betrayal. Holy crap, Nate. I had no idea, wrote my college friend Sarah. You're better off without her. This is why I have trust issues, added someone from my high school. Sue her for everything she's worth, suggested my cousin Tom. But the most satisfying response came from Tara, Mia's former best friend. I can't believe she did this to you. I'm so sorry, Nate. You deserve so much better. By noon, my phone was ringing constantly. Reporters from local news stations had picked up the story. Apparently, woman drains vacation fund for ex-boyfriend's bail was exactly the kind of outrageous human interest story that filled slow news cycles. I declined all interview requests, but I did provide them with copies of the documentation I'd already made public. Let the facts speak for themselves. Mia called me around 1 p.m., screaming so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "Take it down," she demanded. "Take down that post right now." "Why would I do that?" "Because it's ruining my life." "Your life was already ruined. I'm just making sure people know who ruined it. This is harassment. This is transparency. Everything I posted is factual and documented. If you don't like how the facts make you look, maybe you should have considered that before you created those facts. I'm going to sue you." "For what? Telling the truth? Good luck with that." She hung up, but my phone kept ringing. Chase called from his own number, then from numbers I didn't recognize. Amber called from Tokyo, apparently having seen the social media explosion from halfway around the world. I ignored them all and focused on phase 2 of my plan. I'd spent years building Mia's social media presence, helping her create content calendars and engagement strategies for her clients. I knew exactly how to destroy what we'd built together. I started with her professional accounts. Mia marketed herself as a relationship and lifestyle expert, someone who helped couples build stronger connections through social media. Her Instagram was full of posts about authentic love and building trust and communication in relationships. I began commenting on her posts with simple questions. "How's Chase doing?" "Is stealing from your spouse part of authentic love?" "What's your advice for building trust after draining joint bank accounts?" She deleted the comments as fast as I posted them, but not before her followers saw them and started asking their own questions. Her latest post about putting family first attracted dozens of comments asking about her own family situation. "Wait, aren't you married?" "Who's Chase?" "I saw something on Facebook about this. Is it true?" By evening, Mia had made all her social media accounts private, but the damage was done. Her clients were asking questions, her followers were gossiping, and her carefully crafted online persona was crumbling. But I wasn't finished. Chase had been posting gym selfies all day, apparently trying to pretend nothing was happening. His latest post showed him deadlifting with the caption, "Strong body, strong mind, strong spirit. Can't keep a good man down." I screenshot the post and shared it to my own timeline with the caption, "Apparently getting bailed out of jail by someone else's wife is what passes for strength these days. Modern masculinity." The post got shared 63 times. Someone found Chase's arrest record and posted it in the comments. Someone else found photos of him and Mia together, taken months ago but posted to a mutual friend's account where they thought no one would notice. By Wednesday morning, Chase had deleted all his social media accounts. But deleting accounts doesn't make people forget, and it doesn't stop the real-world consequences from piling up. I got a call from Jennifer at work around 10 a.m. "Nate, I don't know if you know this, but Mia showed up here this morning trying to get into the building." "What did she want?" "She said she needed to talk to you about fixing this mess. Security wouldn't let her up, but she waited in the lobby for 2 hours before they asked her to leave." "Did she say anything else?" "She kept talking about how you were destroying her life and ruining everything. She seemed unhinged. I thought you should know." After I hung up, I realized that Mia was escalating. The social media humiliation had backed her into a corner, and cornered people do desperate things. I was right to be concerned. That afternoon, I got a call from my bank. Someone had attempted to access our joint checking account using stolen credentials. The attempt had been blocked, but they wanted me to know about the security breach. "Can you tell me where the access attempt came from?" I asked. "It appears to have originated from your home address, sir." Mia was trying to hack into our accounts, probably looking for money to replace what I'd taken, or maybe just trying to cause financial chaos out of spite. I drove to the bank immediately and closed all our joint accounts, transferring my share to my personal account and leaving Mia with exactly nothing. Then I drove to our apartment. Chase's Jeep was gone, but Mia's car was still there. I used my key one last time and found her sitting at our kitchen table with her laptop open, surrounded by papers and empty coffee cups. She looked up when I walked in, and I was shocked by how much she'd changed in just 2 days. Her hair was unwashed, her eyes were red from crying, and she looked like she hadn't slept since our confrontation. "The bank called," I said. "Trying to hack into our accounts is a crime, Mia." "I wasn't hacking anything. Those are my accounts, too." "Were. Past tense. I closed them this afternoon." Her face went white. "You can't do that." "I can, and I did. Just like you could drain our vacation fund without asking me, and you did." "That's different." "How is it different?" "Because I was trying to help someone, and I'm trying to help myself. To help myself away from someone who thinks stealing is acceptable as long as you call it helping." She stood up, swaying slightly. "You're destroying everything." "I'm not destroying anything. I'm just refusing to pay for my own betrayal." "What about us? What about our marriage?" "What marriage? The one where you were planning your exit strategy for 8 months? The one where you were emotionally and financially supporting another man while pretending to build a future with me? I never meant for it to happen like this. How did you mean for it to happen? Were you planning to ask for a divorce after Chase got out of jail? Were you going to keep both of us on the hook indefinitely? What was the end game here, Mia? She sat back down heavily. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I know. The end game is that you chose him over me, and choices have consequences. You don't get to keep the benefits of being married to me while being in love with him. I'm not in love with him. I pulled out my phone and read from one of her text messages to Chase. I can't wait to wake up next to you every morning. Nate is a good man, but he's not you. He doesn't make me feel alive the way you do. She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's from 3 weeks ago, I continued. Want me to read more? Stop. Here's another one. I know this is complicated, but I think I've known for months that my marriage is over. I just need to figure out how to end it without losing everything. Stop it. Or this one. Nate would never understand what we have. He's too logical, too practical. He doesn't understand passion. Please stop. I put the phone away. You're right about one thing. I don't understand passion that involves stealing from your spouse. I don't understand love that requires betraying someone who trusted you. I don't understand how you can sit there and pretend this was anything other than a calculated plan to have it both ways. It wasn't calculated. It just happened. For 8 months? It just happened for 8 months? She didn't answer. Where's Chase now? I asked. Gone. Gone where? I don't know. He said this was too complicated, that he couldn't deal with the drama. I felt a moment of genuine surprise. He left you. This morning. Said he appreciated everything I did for him, but he couldn't be with someone whose life was such a mess. So let me get this straight. You destroyed our marriage for a man who abandoned you the moment things got difficult? She started crying then, deep-wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. I know how it looks. I know I made mistakes, but I never meant to hurt you. You meant to lie to me. You meant to steal from me. You meant to betray me. The only thing you didn't mean was to get caught. What do you want from me? I want you to sign the divorce papers without fighting them. I want you to acknowledge what you did instead of trying to spin it as something noble. And I want you to understand that actions have consequences. And then what? Then you figure out how to rebuild your life without using me as a safety net. I headed toward the door, then stopped. Oh, and Mia? The lease really is terminated at the end of the month. You'll need to find somewhere else to live. I don't have anywhere to go. You should have thought about that before you chose Chase over stability, before you chose passion over partnership, before you chose betrayal over honesty. I left her crying at the kitchen table and drove back to my hotel. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Amber. We need to talk. I typed back, nothing to discuss. Mia is falling apart. She needs help. She needed help 8 months ago, before she started her affair. She needed help before she stole from our joint account. She needed help before she destroyed our marriage. Now she needs consequences. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference. My phone rang immediately. Amber's name appeared on the screen, and I decided to answer. You're destroying her, she said without preamble. She destroyed herself. I'm just refusing to clean up the mess. She made a mistake. She made a series of calculated choices over 8 months. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. Everyone deserves forgiveness. Everyone deserves consequences for their actions. Mia chose Chase over me. She chose his freedom over our future. She chose deception over honesty. Now she gets to live with those choices. What if she apologizes? What if she tries to make it right? How do you make stealing right? How do you make betrayal right? How do you make 8 months of lies right? People change. People reveal who they really are. Mia revealed that she's someone who will rob her husband to bail out her lover. That's not something you change. That's something you are. She loves you. She loves the security I provide. She loves having a safety net while she pursues her passion with other men. She doesn't love me. She loves what I can do for her. That's not true. Then why didn't she ask me for help with Chase's situation? Why didn't she discuss it with me like a partner would? Why did she sneak around in the middle of the night like a thief? Amber was quiet for a moment. Then, because she knew you'd say no. Exactly. She knew I wouldn't want to fund her affair, so she decided to do it without my consent. That's not love. That's theft. What do you want her to do? I want her to sign the divorce papers and move on with her life. I want her to stop trying to manipulate the situation and accept responsibility for her choices. I want her to leave me alone. And if she doesn't? Then she'll discover that I'm much better at this game than she is. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, I would start the final phase of my plan. Friday morning brought rain and a text message that would trigger the final confrontation. It was from Chase, sent from yet another new number. Meet me at Murphy's Bar on Commonwealth at 8 p.m. Time to settle this like men. I stared at the message for a long time, trying to decide if he was serious. Murphy's was a dive bar near Boston University, the kind of place where conversations got settled with fists as often as words. It seemed exactly like the kind of dramatic gesture Chase would think was impressive. I screenshot the message and added it to my evidence file, then typed back, "Nothing to settle. You got what you wanted. Freedom and my wife. Enjoy them both." His response came immediately. "She's a wreck because of you. Or time to man up and fix what you broke." I laughed out loud in my hotel room. Chase wanted me to man up and fix the situation he and Mia had created by stealing from me and destroying my marriage. The audacity was almost impressive. "I didn't break anything," I typed back. "I just stopped paying for my own betrayal." 8 p.m., Murphy's. Don't be a coward. I turned off my phone and spent the day making final preparations. If Chase wanted a confrontation, I'd give him one, just not the kind he was expecting. I arrived at Murphy's at 7:45 p.m., wearing jeans and a hoodie instead of my usual work clothes. The bar was exactly what I'd expected. Dim lighting, sticky floors, and the kind of clientele that minded their own business. Perfect for what I had planned. Chase was already there, sitting at a corner table with a beer in front of him. He'd dressed for the occasion, too. Tight t-shirt that showed off his gym work, expensive jeans, the kind of outfit designed to intimidate. He looked like he was auditioning for a reality show about toxic masculinity. I bought a beer at the bar and walked over to his table. "You wanted to talk?" "Sit down." I remained standing. "I'm comfortable here." He stood up too, using his height advantage to loom over me. "You're destroying an innocent woman's life." "Innocent?" I pulled out my phone and opened the folder of screenshots. Which part was innocent? The 8 months of lying, the secret relationship, the middle-of-the-night theft. She was trying to help me. She was trying to have it both ways. Keep the financial security of being married to me while having her emotional and physical needs met by you. It wasn't like that. What was it like then? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you two were planning your future together while using me as a bank account. Chase's jaw tightened. She cares about you. She cares about what I can provide for her. There's a difference. You don't deserve her. I laughed. You're right. I don't deserve to be lied to, stolen from, and betrayed. I don't deserve to have my marriage treated like a financial convenience while my wife builds a relationship with another man. She's not your wife anymore. Finally, something we agree on. Chase stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne and see the anger in his eyes. You need to stop the social media campaign. Stop ruining her reputation. I didn't ruin her reputation. I just made her actions public. If she doesn't like how her choices look in the light, maybe she should have made better choices. People make mistakes. People make choices. Mia chose to lie to me for 8 months. She chose to steal from our joint account. She chose you over me. Now she gets to live with the consequences of those choices. What if I paid you back? What if I gave you the money she spent on my bail? Where would you get $23,000? From your next arrest? His hands clenched into fists. Watch your mouth. Or what? You'll assault me too? Add me to your criminal record? I'm trying to be reasonable here. Reasonable would have been not accepting stolen money from a married woman. Reasonable would have been encouraging her to discuss the situation with her husband before draining their savings account. She said you were separated. She lied, just like she lied to me about you, just like she's been lying to everyone about everything for months. Chase grabbed my shirt and pulled me closer. You're going to stop this campaign against her, or I'm going to make you stop. I looked down at his hands on my shirt, then back up at his face. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. In front of all these witnesses? I gestured around the bar, where several people had turned to watch our confrontation. While I'm recording this conversation on my phone? He looked down and saw that my phone was indeed recording, the red light clearly visible on the screen. You're recording me? I'm documenting your threats against me, just like I documented your girlfriend's theft from my bank account. He let go of my shirt and stepped back. Turn that off. Why? You said you wanted to settle this like men. Real men take responsibility for their words and actions. Turn it off. No. Chase looked around the bar, suddenly aware that he was being watched by a dozen strangers who were clearly enjoying the drama. His face flushed red with embarrassment and anger. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes, it is. You got what you wanted. My wife chose you over me. She destroyed our marriage to bail you out of jail. You won. The only problem is that winning came with consequences you didn't expect." "What consequences?" "The consequence of everyone knowing exactly what kind of people you are. The consequence of Mia losing her social media business because her clients don't want relationship advice from someone who destroys relationships. The consequence of you losing your sponsors because they don't want to be associated with someone who accepts stolen money." Chase's face went white. "What sponsors?" I pulled up my phone and showed him the emails I'd sent that afternoon to the supplement companies and fitness brands that had been paying him for endorsements. Each email included screenshots of his text messages with Mia, documentation of his arrest, and a detailed timeline of how he'd accepted $23,000 in stolen money to pay his bail. "I sent these about 4 hours ago," I said. "Check your email. I think you'll find some interesting responses." He fumbled for his own phone, his hands shaking as he scrolled through his messages. His face got paler with each email he opened. "You destroyed my career." I shared factual information about your character and judgment. If that destroyed your career, maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to build your career on a foundation of stolen money. This is harassment. This is consequences. You and Mia thought you could steal from me, destroy my marriage, and then just move on with your lives like nothing happened. You were wrong. Chase stood there for a moment, staring at his phone and the wreckage of his influencer career. Then he looked back at me with pure hatred in his eyes. "You're going to regret this." "The only thing I regret is not seeing who Mia really was 8 months ago. The only thing I regret is wasting 4 years of my life on someone who would rob me to fund her affair. She loved you. She used me. There's a difference." Chase raised his fist like he was going to hit me, but then he noticed the phones that were now pointed in our direction. Half the bar was recording our confrontation, probably hoping for something dramatic they could post to their own social media accounts. He lowered his fist and stepped back. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is. You're broke, unemployed, and dating a woman who destroyed her own life to bail you out of jail. I'd say we're pretty much done here." Chase pushed past me and stormed out of the bar, leaving his beer unfinished on the table. The other customers applauded as he left, and someone shouted, "Good riddance." I finished my own beer slowly, savoring the victory. Then I walked outside into the rain. Chase was waiting by his Jeep, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. When he saw me, he started walking over with murder in his eyes. "You think you're so smart," he said. "You think you've won." "I know I've won. You're broke, Mia's broke, and I'm free. That sounds like winning to me." "You destroyed everything." "I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped funding it." "She's got nowhere to go." She should have thought about that before she chose you over stability. What kind of man abandons his wife when she needs help? The kind of man who discovers that his wife has been lying to him for 8 months and stealing from him to support her affair. Chase stepped closer, rain dripping from his hair. "You're pathetic. No wonder she wanted someone else. Someone else who abandoned her the moment things got complicated? Someone else who's now unemployed and facing criminal charges? Yeah, she really traded up. At least I'm not a vindictive little man who ruins people's lives for revenge. I'm not vindictive, I'm thorough. There's a difference." Chase swung at me then, a wild haymaker that I saw coming from a mile away. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him past me, then watched as he slipped on the wet pavement and went down hard on his knees. "Assault in front of witnesses," I said, pointing to the bar windows where people were still watching. "That's probably a parole violation." He got to his feet slowly, his jeans torn and his knees scraped. "You're going to pay for this." "With what money?" "Oh, that's right, you don't have any. Neither does Mia. Funny how that worked out." Chase stood there in the rain, breathing hard and looking like he wanted to take another swing at me. But he could see the witnesses in the bar windows, and he could see my phone still recording everything. "This isn't over," he said for the 3rd time. "Keep telling yourself that," I replied. "Maybe eventually you'll believe it." He got into his Jeep and drove away, tires squealing on the wet pavement. I watched his taillights disappear into the Boston traffic, then walked to my own car. My phone buzzed with a text from Mia. "We need to talk. Please." I typed back, "Sign the divorce papers. That's all the talking we need to do." "Chase is gone. He left me." "I know. He told me." "I have nowhere to go." "You should have thought about that before you destroyed our marriage. Please, Nate, I'm begging you. You're 8 months too late for begging." I turned off my phone and drove back to my hotel. Tomorrow I would start looking for a new apartment, maybe something closer to work. I would begin the process of rebuilding my life without the constant threat of betrayal and theft. But tonight, I was going to order room service, watch a movie, and enjoy the satisfaction of a war well won. Mia had chosen Chase over me, thinking she could have it both ways. Chase had accepted stolen money to fund his freedom, thinking there would be no consequences. They'd both learned that actions have prices, and sometimes those prices are higher than you're willing to pay. I'd spent 4 years thinking I was building a partnership with someone I loved. Instead, I'd been funding my own betrayal while my wife planned her exit strategy. Now, Mia was alone, broke, and facing the consequences of her choices. Chase was unemployed, discredited, and running from the wreckage of his influencer career. And I was free. Free from lies, free from theft, free from the exhausting work of loving someone who saw me as nothing more than a convenient bank account. Outside my hotel window, Boston glittered in the rain, full of possibilities I hadn't been able to see while I was trapped in a marriage built on deception. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chances to build something real with someone who understood that love isn't about taking everything you can get, it's about giving everything you can spare. But tonight, I was exactly where I belonged, alone, victorious, and finally free from the people who had tried to destroy me. The rain kept falling, washing the city clean, and I fell asleep to the sound of it against my window, the sound of endings and beginnings, of justice served and debts finally paid.